Live from Denver's Cherry Creek neighborhood, you are listening to the Kyle Malnati Show. I'm your host, Kyle Malnati, and I'm excited to talk to you about real estate today. Well, today's show is going to be about renovation. My business partner, Greg, and I wrote an article a few weeks back that's on our blog called Renovation Makes Sense. It makes dollars and cents. And I'm excited to share with you that topic and show how, in the mind of the investor, how you can renovate an apartment building and what the difference can be in a sale between a renovated and an unrenovated product. Before we dive into that topic, I'd like to say thanks to my sponsor, Dustin Tomey of Keller Lowry Insurance. Dustin is a partner and owner of Keller Lowry, and Dustin's become a good friend of mine as we've worked on a lot of different insurance policies for the purpose of investors that own apartment buildings as they're getting prepared to close on the purchase of their apartment building. Dustin's helped with their insurance policy. Not all insurance companies will insure apartment buildings, and so it's important to find a broker like Dustin that can go to the open market and find the best insurer for your apartment building. Dustin works with targeted insurance carriers that have specialty policies, designed for property owners. You can contact Dustin here in Denver at 303-756-9909. They also have a toll-free number. That's 1-800-753-9909. Again, Dustin Tomey, Vice President of Keller Lowry Insurance here in Denver. Dustin, thanks for your sponsorship. I'm broadcasting here from Stewart Title in the Cherry Creek neighborhood of Denver. And I'd also like to thank Laurel Rossi and the team here at Stewart Title for all their help during our closings, as well as for providing us this space to broadcast our show. Well, diving into our topic, we're going to talk about renovation. Renovation, it does make sense. It actually makes dollars and cents. It's really rare for us as a brokerage team to have the ability to sell two apartment buildings right next to each other that were built in the same year and also look the exact same, at least from the outside. And there's a lot to be learned when you sell side-by-side properties, especially when one of those buildings commands a $500,000 premium over the other. During my career, I've sold dozens of these 12-unit center hallway buildings in Denver, but I've never really sold neighboring sister buildings side-by-side in the same year. Some quick characteristics of these buildings: both were built in 1961. They had the exact same unit mix, 11 one-bedrooms and one studio apartment. They had identical floor plans, and each of them had the same amount of parking, 4 spots, and then obviously they were on the same street, 13th and Monroe. One was located at 1335 Monroe, the other located at 1345 Monroe. When we sold 1335 Monroe in April of this year, it was a very neat, clean apartment, and it was in pretty decent condition. It was really an average building for Congress Park, but in part due to the longevity of the ownership, rents had fallen a little bit below what we would see as normal in the marketplace. We were able to sell the building for $1,400,000, which is $116,667 per unit. Now, the building next door, directly to the north, was located at 1345 Monroe. That had been completely renovated in 2012. And interestingly enough, the guy that owned 1345 and renovated it bought it from the gentleman next door at 1335. At one point, one gentleman owned both of these buildings together. The apartments had been renovated with new cabinets, new appliances, new tile, new flooring. The building had also received several major upgrades like new windows, a new boiler system, and new electrical service, all of which were helped provide a lot of efficiency when it came to operating the apartment building. The biggest difference, I would say, would be in the monthly rent. The monthly rents at 1345 Monroe, the renovated building, were exceeding $1,000 a month, whereas the building next door, the rents were largely in the $700 range. And because of the exceptional condition and this enhanced rental income that I just mentioned, we sold the building in August of this same year, so just 4 months later, for nearly $500,000 more. The closing price was $1,895,000, which is $158,000 per unit. So again, the moral of the story is renovation does make sense. It makes dollars and cents. Some suggestions that I received, and we handle both sales. The renovator has done several renovation projects, and his biggest suggestion was, if you're going to do a renovation, empty all of the units all at once and do the renovation all at once. And this would sound, like a novel concept, pretty obvious, right? Well, you can't always do that because you've got leases that have different terms. So you may not have all of your tenants that are actually available to move out. And then the other thing too is people always look at it and say, well, it takes a lot of money to do a renovation like that one by one, but especially to do all the units all at once. Well, that renovation project cost just under $300,000. And my client, when comparing it to another building that he had renovated, said he would absolutely do a full-scale renovation every time from now on, because you have economy of scale with your purchases. You can purchase 12 cabinets in this case all at once. You can purchase 12 sets of hardwood flooring. You can purchase 12 sets of appliances. All of these things can be bought all at once and end up saving you money. The other big thing right now is subcontractors. Because of all of the construction going on in Denver, it's very difficult to get subcontractors to commit to working on several smaller projects in tandem. It's much easier to get an electrician that will say, we'll work on a big project all at once. And so it just provides a lot more efficiency for the developer. And then obviously, once you've renovated these units, you can get all of the same tenant profile in the building all at once, which might not be the biggest deal, but if you think about it, if you've got someone that's paying $700 living across the hall from someone who's paying $1,000, you're just going to have a little bit different mix there of tenants. And so it's generally a lot easier as you've emptied all of the units out to go ahead, renovate everything all at once, and then get your leasing staff to go through and do all of the leasing at once. So if you'd like to read more about that article and that story, you can go to our blog. The main address is denverapartmentbuildingsforsale.com. If you want to find this specific link, what you can do on the website is go to the URL. It's kmalnati.wordpress.com /2014 /09 /23 renovation-makes-sense-dollars-and-cents. And that'll get you directly to that link. Some wisdom for the day, some inspiration I always like to share with my watcher, people that watch our radio show online on YouTube, as well as people who are listening to the podcast, is a quote that I picked up from a guy named Scott Reed. And Scott says, "This one step, choosing a goal and sticking to it, changes everything." And as I reflect upon making goals for 2015, this show is being recorded in October. We have just a few months left to finish the year strong. What are you thinking about for 2015? And if you are thinking about goals, it's a wonderful start to start actually writing those goals down and start vision casting as you break down what you think your year is going to be like in 2015. A lot of people talk about New Year's resolutions, and I think generally most people know that New Year's resolutions are not for long. I think that goals and sustainable goals, they get set generally several months before the year begins. And what I have found is when I sit down in October or November and decide how I want my year to look, what that does for me is it, one, tells me that I'm going to be very intentional about how I want my year to look. And then the second step is as I sit and think about what I want my year to look like, I actually break down all of the steps to achieve those goals. And so you start with this big major goal at the top, and then you filter down to the step-by-step tasks that need to be taken over the year to achieve that goal. And so a lot of people talk about backing into your goals, and I think that makes things so much easier if you just start with your big goal and then say, okay, what would have to happen each month for me to get closer towards that goal. And then as you're looking at each month, say, okay, each week, what do I need to do to be achieving that goal? So again, the quote and the inspiration of the day is from Scott Reed. This one step, choosing a goal and sticking to it, changes everything. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dustin Tomey of Keller Lowry and Laurel Rossi of Stewart Title. This is the Kyle Malnati Radio Show. If you'd like to connect with me, you can do that a number of different ways. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Kyle Malnati. Our website, again, is www.denverapartmentbuildingsforsale.com. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch and tune into the radio show. We look forward to providing you with some great topics on our next show. And take care, have fun. We'll see you around the neighborhood here in Central Denver.